Welcome back to the Side Conversations podcast, you guys. I'm here with wouldn't say a newcomer, a reoccurring guest, a guest we haven't had in a while. I'd like to introduce this guy, man. There's so many things to say. My best friend, my bro, soon to be best man, my guy, Jack Stowe. Welcome to the freaking show. Welcome back, my guy. How are you?
Man. Yeah, pretty good, man. Just happy to be in Dallas, even though we're snowed in.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot of snow right now. I mean, actually, all this light's pretty much coming from the white outside. There's so much.
It's so bright.
Yeah, snowed in, so no better thing to do than really just kick off a podcast, man. We've been chatting for a while. I'm just really glad to have you over here, man. Honestly, it's good to have a friend on the show so we can kind of chit-chat about things. So, I mean, first off, man, how you been? I know you've been busy, real busy.
Yeah, man, just kind of moved across the country again. Moved back from Cali about a year and a half ago, over to Texas, over in Lubbock, and just kind of, honestly, man, just finding my way, starting the transition. Got a couple years left, and just kind of moving into kind of the back half, or really the back quarter of my career in the military.
Yeah, so what? How long now has it been since you've been enlisted in the military?
So I just hit 6 years 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so in that 6 years, I mean, dude, obviously you and I have been through a lot. We've pretty much been side by side a lot through our military career. How many times have you moved? So what? How old are you two right now? You're 24,
24,
right?
Almost 25.
Been in the military 6 years. How many times have you moved around?
Let's see. Started in 29, and then, well, I mean, do you want to count all the schools and stuff too?
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely want to know how many times you've moved around and been relocated. Every time you've had to change a barracks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That real raw.
Well, so we started in 29 Palms outside of Palm Springs. So that was one. Then we moved to San Diego in 2018. Then moved across the street in San Diego in 2019. Did a 6 month in Japan prior to that, and then came back and moved to Lubbock. So I guess realistically about 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to really paint the picture here, man. The movement, dude. You're constantly picking your stuff up, moving
nonstop.
Whether it's across the street, things change, right? The environment changes, the people changes, your neighbors change. And that's what I'm really trying to get across, man. 24 years old, been in the military 6 years, and you're constantly moving around.
Yeah, I got trust issues. It's so
well,
funny.
It's a product of that. I definitely feel like it's got to be a product of the fact that you move so much. Nothing's ever, or at least from your perspective, nothing really feels permanent.
Yeah, 100%, and that bleeds over so much into day-to-day life, because every move you make now, you're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be here in a year.
Yeah.
Because literally, I mean, for the first, 5 years, I didn't stay at one duty station longer than a year and a half. And then every other duty station other than that one was less than a year.
Wow.
So, I mean, literally, I showed up to 29 Palms. I was there for 7 months, went to Japan for 6 months, came back in 2 months, checked out, went to San Diego. I was there for 11 months, checked out, went to another unit across the street. Was there for a year and a half. That was the longest one.
Yeah.
And then moved to Lubbock. I mean, I had orders after I got to that last one in San Diego. I had orders about a year and 3 months after I got there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how much time we got left now?
Well, just extended. So 2 years as of March 1st.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, man. I can't forget to mention, definitely clap it up for my guy here. Selected for Staff Sergeant, soon to be pinned for that rocker, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, bro.
You deserve it, honestly, man. Just want to say that's super. So that's another thing, which is crazy to me, man, which kind of harping on, kind of ties into what I want to talk about today. 24 years old, being pinned Staff Sergeant, which is quite a big rank to carry, I mean, when anybody thinks about the military, let's be honest, all they really think about in their head are stripes. They think they think 3 stripes, they see rockers.
Rank
that's
is
what
everything.
they think, right? Rank is everything.
Right.
And I mean, it's a prestigious rank, you're noticed by Congress and recognize that your rank is going to hold something important. So I definitely, your journey into all that moving, all that work you put in to be a 24-year-old staff sergeant, at least to me in my experience in the military, that's a diamond in the rough. That's
well, it comes down to a few things, which is there's a lot of talk in the military, especially in the Marine Corps, especially when you start to talk about promotions in the senior ranks. Everybody talks about, this MOS gets promoted faster than others, which is 100% true. Like there are instances where it is easier to get promoted. the way that I combated that was I just did everything in my power to make myself promotable regardless of the MOS. Now there's exceptions, right? Certain MOSs close out and they don't promote, and at that point there's a certain level of luck.
Right.
My MOS is very, very big and there's a shitload of us, and at the end of the day we do get promoted fast. However, my goal was to surpass whatever the minimum expectations were by a lot, so that there weren't any questions.
It was never a focus for the rank. It was I'm just being a powerhouse because
no matter what,
because that's just who I am.
You just have to, because you're going to get looked down on if you do get promoted quickly because you have an MOS that promotes fast. But the way I just counteracted that was like, okay, if you artillery, gun bunny or infantry, whatever the case may be, like, all right, then let's compare our stats.
Yeah, absolutely. You can say a rank promotes faster, but let's actually talk numbers. Let's talk about
where's your fitness at? What schools have you been to?
Right.
How's your PME? How'd you perform at PME?
Yeah.
Did you end up in some sort of award situation? So on and so forth. And that was the easiest way to dispel all the bullshit.
Right. Now this is where I want to get at with this conversation. There's a lot of things that come into play when you're striving for something, right? And obviously when you set a goal as broad as greatness and it's not fixated on one material object or one certain goal, like I said, it's very general to say my finishing goal, my finishing line is greatness, because that's such a broad term.
Right.
And I want to bring this up because dude, I feel like I've been lacking in an area of discipline, right?
For sure.
So, that's where it's a hot topic because, you being in your position, obviously, I know you, we've talked about a lot of things, the sacrifices you've had to make, and the discipline you have to continue on your grind, man. It's recognizable. You can see it. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of me to see. So I just want to know where you get at after that, So tell me, when you wake up in the morning, what's going through your head? Because, a regular workday, when you're in the mix, tell me what's going through your head. What's pulling you out of bed?
So for me, it's relatively simple, but it's ingrained. And I think a lot of guys that take their job relatively seriously, whatever you do, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But I've told my girlfriend about this 1,000 times. From the second that I wake up, and to be perfectly honest, even from the night before, I'm already thinking about the first 5 things I have to do within the first couple hours of getting up. So for me, if it's okay, I know I need to eat before I go to work. I know I need to get up, get my stuff together. I know exactly how long it's going to take me to get to work. And then I still leave a little bit of extra time there just in case. I still end up going early. So for example, so I usually get up around 6:30. And I leave a little bit of buffer there because realistically, I don't have to be at work until 8.
Right.
And it takes me, 14 minutes to get to work, but I always plan for 20 to 25.
Subtle. See, that's one thing I also want to go off on a side conversation here. Oh, I said it. No, so that right there, the 14 minutes, it's 14 minutes, which means at some point in time when you were making that travel, you took a look at your clock and you made a mental note of it to get there. So you're meticulous, right? So that comes into play, right? That's got to be a trait. You have to pay attention really to what's going on. Yeah, absolutely, man. And it is pretty sweet to see, it's really cool, which is why I reach out to you, on this topic. Maintaining that discipline for your goal, right? And achieving your goal. It's human to stumble, right? It's human to mess up. It's human to get off track. So I want to kind of dive into that. Have you ever really felt, because let's be real, man, right now you're doing a lot of things that a lot of other people aren't doing. Right now you're in the mix, you're in the military, you're on for promotion. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but what I'm just saying is, obviously you're in a very different position. So, tell me, have you ever really experienced a time where you kind of fell off your grind and kind of, what brought you back into, what pulled you back in? How'd you maintain it? Because right now, man, I'll be real with you. This is really just me seeking advice. I have, somewhat gone into that episode and I'm really trying to pull it back.
No question.
I'm looking for that discipline again. So, let's jump into it.
So, going back to 2017, I was in E3 I was really close to E4. I was, you do in the military, you do these quarterly promotion boards, and it's basically just to make sure that you are fit to be promoted to the next rank. Mm-hmm. So I was undisciplined. I was drinking every weekend, most of the time to blackout.
Yeah.
I was 20. I could drink over there at the bars. I was having the time of my life. I loved it. I have no regrets over it whatsoever. It was just a time where I needed to kind of go crazy. I went to college for a little bit and partied my ass off, came to the Marine Corps, and it felt like all of that fun got stripped away for a little bit because life sucks for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I went over to Japan and I was like, oh, like here it is again. This is the time that I was looking for. And so for like the first, 4 out of 6 months, I was just kind of off my rocker and doing whatever I wanted to and didn't care. And I could get through what I needed to get through and meet the minimums no matter what. And in that last quarter, a couple of things happened that really, really just beat me up. Mm-hmm. So I was drinking every weekend, like I said, and sometimes during the week. And then I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was like, oh, like for the last, year and a half, 2 years, I could essentially just do whatever I want and I'd still be fine. Like I was never the last guy in PT. I was never, the worst one. I was always somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
And, which I was comfortable with, which is like the worst thing in the world to get comfortable.
So there was those times, I've been there too, where you wake up, you have PT and you're like, okay, I'm going to get through it. But I'm not going to shine. You know what I mean?
And I'm not going to put that much effort into it either.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm just going to put in the bare minimum to get through it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I don't want to be here.
And you were, and that was in your head. You were just like, I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing the thing. But
I had a shitty mindset. And it's very similar to how a lot of people go to work nowadays. It's just like, just need to get through it.
Absolutely.
Just a minimum requirement.
You definitely run into people who are already upset when they get there. They don't want to be there. They're mad that they're there. But they're going to have to do the thing. And it's... we say it all the time, right? Fake motivation is the best way to build motivation. Is just fake it till you make it. But fake motivation gets kind of toxic, man. So where do you reach from to really keep going? So there you are, right? You're in the middle. Mm-hmm. What happens next, right? So you already know that you're just taking things easy now.
Yeah.
Were you planning on staying, or were you trying to get out, or what?
So I was only like 1.5 to 2 years in. So I really wasn't thinking about the long term at that point. I was still in another country and kind of just going through the motions. Keep in mind, the unit that I came from, I didn't hate the unit. I hated where I was. I hated being in the middle of nowhere in the desert. It was awful.
Yeah.
And I was making like no money, so I didn't have anything. I didn't have any money to go do great things. I could maybe take a trip once every couple of months. Like it just sucked.
Yeah. Dude, low rank pay and you got
sucks,
things going.
Dude. Making like $600 every 2 weeks. It's trash.
People who are like, man, the military is a great way to make money. Look, if you're in the military,
after you do money, like 8 years,
if you're in the military for the money, man, you're in the wrong.
You're
in the wrong business. Go do something else. Go learn how to do plumbing or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's so much easier.
Yeah. I should have been a plumber. No.
Like you're getting shit on so much in the military and getting paid nothing. Yeah, at least for a certain amount of time.
And don't get me wrong. There are times you can go out and do things and it's cool and you get to feel that sense of pride.
Sure.
But peacetime military.
Yeah.
You gotta. Yeah. So what's going through your head, right? So let's get back on track here. We keep going off on side conversations. Anyways, so tell me, man, what's the changing moment, right? What pulls you in? Because obviously you seem to be in a much better state than where you were running in the mid. So where's that changing point? Where did you pull from, right?
So what happened was I went on the promotion board. I thought I had it locked down. I already had the score to get promoted. Mm-hmm. So I knew that. I was like, okay, I'm good.
So this is what, Lance to Corporal?
Yeah.
Or what? Okay.
Yeah, E3, D4, Lance Corporal to Corporal, which is a big jump.
Yes, big time.
And I went on this promotion board, and I had all the confidence in the world, but I really had nothing to back it up. But I will say this. I was doing well in my job for the unit that I was attached to. Uh-huh. So I went to Japan with my current unit, and then I detached from them and worked for a separate unit and did a lot of work underneath them. So,
absolutely. Okay,
and so like kind of, I don't want to like dime out units, but an artillery unit from the West Coast goes out to Japan, attaches to another artillery unit.
Right, yeah.
But I worked for the headquarters while my firing battery that I went with operated independently.
Yes.
So went to the headquarters and worked for them and did a lot of good stuff in my opinion, kind of worked really hard and kind of refined my craft, got held to the fire by a few NCOs and I loved every minute of it. And so that group of leadership got to see that performance from me.
Yeah.
The problem is the promotion board was done by the group that I went with that I didn't work with on a day-to-day basis. And they only saw the drunk, stupid Jack that would come back to the barracks, right?
Yeah, they just
Which
saw
I get.
They just saw
right?
Lance Corporal still being a Lance Corporal,
100%.
What quote unquote what's expected? You know what I mean?
Exactly. What would you expect of
yeah.
just a dumb E3?
Yes.
So I went on this promotion board. I thought I did all right. I was like, I should be fine. And again, like I didn't know the importance of whatever I was doing. I was just like, oh, this is just another thing I have to do. Minimum standards, whatever.
Another check in the box.
I get back. I get a call, and they were like, hey, come sign your non-recommendation for promotion.
Wow.
Right?
Dang, they hit you with that with a phone call?
Yeah, so they called me and they were like, "Hey, come up to the company office. We need you to sign your non-rec."
And so right there, right? Let's dive into just that piece right there. They call you, right? You think you had this locked down. You're excited because you're like, a promotion's coming.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like
yeah.
Like in your head, you're like, oh, I'm getting pinned.
I'm good.
Like you're good.
Yep.
They tell you, right? They hit you with that word. That word right there, non-rec, is, if you're not familiar with the military, that word right there, that phrase, that piece of paper, non-rec, carries a bad reputation.
That is the biggest motivation killer to young Marines.
Absolutely. And so when they tell you that over the phone, I mean, you're familiar with the non-rec. You've seen the other.
Right.
You've seen.
I hear stories.
You
all
hear
the time,
stories, right?
Yeah.
And when you see someone who's been non-rec, you can tell the difference, right?
And you know who's been non-rec.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I'm them.
Yeah, right. So so is that what goes through you? Do you immediately group yourself with? You've already put it. You're like, well, okay, so yeah, take me through that phone call.
A little bit of both. So part of me was like, oh shit, I'm on the same level as these guys. But on the back of my head, I was like, but there's no way. Like, I know the work that I'm putting in. And so I went to my current chief and I was like, hey, like they're non-recking me for promotion. And he was like, what are you talking about? He was like, how'd the board go? I was like, I thought it went fine. Like, it wasn't anything that would get me non-recced. Like it shouldn't be. So he's like, I'm going to go up there. So my chief comes up there with me. He's an E6. We're going up to go see the E8, the first sergeant.
Yes.
Keep in mind, these two knew each other from the drill field. They were on the drill field at the same time, and they knew each other. So we walk into the office, and first sergeant slides across the non-rec across the table. He's like, read it. Let me know if you have any questions. And my staff sergeant's standing right behind me. Mm-hmm. And so I read it, and he was like, so what do you think? And I was like, to be honest with you, I'm not going to make any excuses. If you don't think I'm ready, then I'm not ready. And I'm not going to sit here and try to, I've made mistakes just like everybody else. And I'm not going to sit here and try to give you a big case. I'm sorry that I'm not up to standard at this point, and I'll get better. The staff sergeant behind me was like, yeah, that's all cool, but that's not not how this conversation goes. He was like, first sergeant, this is one of the leaders of my shop. He's an E3, and he's leading my shop in some sort of capacity. He's not the leader, but he's stepping up and making contributions to the shop.
You're making yourself useful. You're being effective, which is what they want.
100%.
I mean, I can tell you, and you know it from an NCO standpoint, right? And I'm not trying to talk because I've been out for a few years, but from an NCO standpoint, nothing gets like that NCO off, or because when you see someone who's just there to work. Right. Like they're there to get the job done, and they're like, "Hey, I understand. I'm a lower rank, or you're a high rank, whatever. Like, and let's just work together. Let's get it done. Let's go home."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. You know, I know exactly what you mean when he's describing that. Yeah.
So he basically was like, first sergeant, this is a Marine that I want to be a leader in my shop, and I want him to have the rank so that he can learn and grow to be the leader that he should be, and not based off of what he's done in the past. And they kind of sat in silence for a few seconds, and then he was like, I really respect this guy. You know that, right? And he was talking about my staff sergeant. He's like, I really respect him. He was like, do you realize what this guy is doing for you right now? Like what this staff sergeant is doing for you right now? And I was like, yeah, no Absolutely. Question.
Yeah.
And he was like, if I do this, he was like, you better show back up to this unit when we go back a whole different Marine. And I was like, understood, no questions asked. Yeah. He takes that non-rec, rips it up right in front of me, throws it in the trash, and that was the fucking moment that changed. And so I knew two things. I knew I wasn't in great shape, and I knew I lacked discipline. And the only way to do that is just go completely to the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. So when you say, I don't mean to interrupt you. So when you say like you've noticed you've lacked discipline, right?
Yeah.
What areas are you seeing that in? Like when so that night, I mean, I'm assuming that night was probably full of a lot of self-reflection, or at least for a moment.
No question.
So when you kind of recognize that fact, you're like, okay, you probably look at yourself, you think about your PFTs and stuff, and you're like, I've been, maybe I can be, you realize, you say to yourself, at least,
Yeah.
I'm not in great shape. Okay, so it's time to change that. Then, you tell yourself you lack discipline. Where are you seeing that at? If you don't mind me,
No, yeah. So it comes down to how you define discipline. And to me, discipline is doing what you know you need to do, even if it's not comfortable. And so for me, that was, like I said, I knew that I wasn't actively getting better at anything other than my job. So I knew that I was good at my MOS, relatively good. I mean, I wasn't a stud, but I was good and I could do my job well. So that part, I was like, I can always get better, but I'm solid there.
Yeah.
I need to address the other parts of me. And so that's going to be the nutrition and that's going to be the fitness side of the house. Because those are things that the Marine Corps loves.
Yeah.
If you're a stud physically, like the Marine Corps is going to love you no matter what. You could suck at your job and they're going to give you benefit of the doubt.
100%. That's, yeah, dude.
It's a blueprint. And the Marine Corps loves giving blueprints to people.
Yes.
And we know exactly what the blueprints are. And so if you don't take advantage of them, you're an idiot.
100%.
And I didn't for a long time until that moment. And so the first thing, by the way, I was also like a tan belt in McMap. So like,
oh yeah, so you were just chilling. I mean, you weren't interested.
I was straight chilling.
Yeah. And I definitely feel that, man. A lot of times it's not really too important to start going.
The first thing I did was I found the MAI in my unit.
Yes.
And I said, I want to go on a gray belt and a green belt course. He said, you need 2 or 3 other people before I can do a course. I was like, I'll go find them.
Okay.
So I got my roommates. We got a course going. So step 1, got that started to handle. So I could start getting better belts. I could start kind of slowly, building my resume. 2 was I knew I needed to get my nutrition back. So because I had I wasn't fat, but I was skinny and I had no fucking abs. Which if you're skinny and you don't have abs and you're in the military, there's a problem.
There's a problem.
So I immediately went to one of the other guys in my shop who was a bodybuilder, and I was like, "Tell me what you know, and help me meal prep, and we'll do all this shit
start
together."
picking his brain. Right?
I had 2 months left there. I was like, "Just teach me all you can." So that was step 2. Step 3 was find a person that was willing to take you to the gym all the time. So I had an NCO, it was the same guy that did the MAI. I was like, "Can I please just go to the gym with you?" He was like, "Yeah, that's fine. We'll go to the gym in the evenings here, but when we get back to 29 Palms, we're going in the mornings." At early. And I was like, okay, cool. So, the last couple months were kind of a blur. You kind of do a little bit here and there. We're starting to wrap up the UDP and we go back to 29. So when I get back to 29, I'm still making food. I got my green belt. Nice. So in 2 months, I had knocked out 2 belts. And then when we got back to 29, I was like, I hate waking up early. I hate it. And he was like, I don't give a shit. He was like, what you're going to do is you're going to put a bottle of your shaker bottle with pre-workout already mixed in it, put it on your bedside table. He was like, the second that your alarm goes off at 4:30, he was like, you're going to drink that pre-workout.
Just immediately take some caffeine straight to the
dead
dome.
Ass.
Yeah.
So at 4:30 in the morning, alarm would go off, take the pre-workout. We would drive over. We'd get there at 4:45 and we would wait for the gym to open at 5.
My goodness.
He was like, I don't care. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
And we would be the first people in the gym at 5. We'd work out for an hour, go back, shower, change, eat, and then go to work. And he was like, this is your new grind. This is what you do now. And it stuck. It stuck really well. And so I had 2 months of kind of working out on the back end of that UDP. I was still attached to Kilo Battery, by the way, or that unit for a little bit.
Shout out.
And so in November, December timeframe, we'd stayed with them because we were going to go to the ball together as that unit.
Sweet. Yeah.
The battalion had already done their ball, so we were going to have a separate one. So,
yo, can you take me to the next ball, by the way?
100%.
Fucking missed,
dude. I got you.
Yeah.
I'll get you ticks.
Yo, if you're watching this and you're a Marine, and you have a ball coming up, give me a shout. I'd love to go.
So this is kind of the.
So I'd like to just dive into one more piece there, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the real kicker. This is what I'm searching for, right? So you have a guy, so now you have almost an accountability buddy, right?
Yeah. I had to seek out.
But you still have your free will, right?
Yes.
You still have your choice.
Yes.
He tells you, hey, here's what I want you to do. Here's how I do it. Pre-workout side of the bed when you wake up, when that alarm goes off. So that alarm goes off. When you wake up, you open your eyes because that alarm's going off. What's that thought in your head that tells you to get up? Was it because you knew you needed it? Was it, because you could have just easily rolled over.
Yeah, no question. 4
in the morning, you know what I mean? So what was it? What pulled you up?
It was a small task. Mm-hmm. And the task wasn't get up. It wasn't put your shoes on. It wasn't go outside. The small task was the alarm goes off, you drink it. Mm-hmm. Period.
So it's just more of just follow that schedule.
Because the second you drink that, you get the caffeine, you get the sugar, you get everything, and then you're wide awake. So I was up at 4:30. I didn't have to be outside till 4:45. So I was like, okay, well, if I drink this pre-workout, there's no way I'm going back to bed. You
so
can't.
you set a schedule, and so that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was, oh, I'm not doing this for a goal or a benefit. I'm doing this because it's in my schedule.
Yes. I have to.
Interesting.
And there's also...
Whoa, you're like hitting my brain right now. This is actually... Okay, go on. Yeah,
and
I'm listening. Yeah.
There's also an accountability piece there where somebody took the time to help me, and now I can't return the favor by doing a small task of just get... Like, it's not like when we go to the gym, he's beating my ass, and like, he's like, hey, you can go do whatever you want to do for an hour. All we're doing is going together. Yeah. And then you can go do, like, it's not like I got to show up and then I get my ass beat for an hour.
Like
and
you're in some crazy training regimen. Yeah.
He's like, you just get to come with me. And he was an NCO too at the time too. He had been a corporal for a while. I think he was about to pin on sergeant or just pin on sergeant. I can't remember.
Bruh.
But awesome guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to disappoint him because he took the time to help me. And so that was a big piece of it too, was I loved him as a brother. From the moment that he showed me compassion, that he could have been another, like, keep in mind, you know, I was such kind of like a shitbag at some point that a lot of those guys in that unit didn't like me because they were like, we don't need, like, this dude doesn't even do anything. Like,
you're
he's
just
just garbage.
Your reputation and the way you carried yourself. Definitely. I mean, I can definitely say I was a product of that too.
Yeah.
When I was I got pinned on corporal. I think I just turned 20 years old and I got pinned on corporal, and I just wasn't ready. You know, I was just, you know, long hair, don't care, too cool for school, whatever, you know, and I got a very stern talking to actually about just my personality by a few of my younger Marines, were two of my best friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I got pinned on, they pulled me aside after a few weeks and they said, dude, you are such a dick at work. Like, and they told me, they were just like, when we go to the barracks, you're such a different person, and that's why we like you. But when you come here, you're just such a piece of shit.
What's funny is what a lot of people don't realize is a corporal is essentially a leader in training. You're allowing them to be a monster and you're taming it.
Yeah.
Like, that's because by the time they're an E5, they're a sergeant, like, they've kind of cultivated who they are as a leader a lot.
Yeah.
And that comes from making a shitload of mistakes, being an asshole,
absolutely,
and figuring out what people respond to. Now the difference between the people that end up being good leaders and bad leaders is the people take how they get responses, and they either just ignore the bad stuff,
100%,
or they address the bad stuff and continue to cultivate who they are, and then that becomes kind of a little bit more of their identity as a sergeant. And so, you know, you kind of have to take that time to figure out what kind of leader you want to be.
100%.
And that comes from finding out what leaders you don't like.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think after that talking to I got, man, and you know, I'll even mention, dude, Eli Hain, Greg Love, dude, two of my homies that really put me on there when that conversation about how I'm supposed to carry myself now and just how to act and all that stuff. And it definitely took time, you know, and that, in different types of discipline, like emotional discipline, like, hey, don't blow up. There's no need to blow up. You know what I mean? And just physical discipline, like, dude, just don't lash out. You know, don't freak out. You know, you have those. You remember those really shitty tin lockers that they would give you, bro? You just walk in there, slam one. You know, and I'm like, you know, don't do that. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I really do enjoy that point you made, that it's almost rather easier to stay disciplined if you just follow a schedule full of simple tasks. I think the key is simple tasks. Yes. That's right there.
The task isn't get up at 4:30, go to the gym, work out for an hour, and then come back. The task is get up and take your pre-workout.
And it's also, the task isn't get up, go work out because I'm a piece of shit and I want to do all this other stuff and you're trying to be. That's not there. It's like, I'm just following a schedule. I'm not thinking
this is just my life now.
Yeah, I'm just doing a schedule. Yeah. So it kind of, I really like that because it kind of removes that personal aspect, which is, I mean, dude, that's kind of where, I mean, I've just been doing introspecting, you know what I mean? And obviously, I mean, I told you this whole thing, man, which was crazy. So I bought, obviously I have like all my workout equipment and I've been working a lot. So I have been working out, dude. There's no question about it. And I bought a scale. So I was like, you know what? I started my job 9 months ago. I was 183 pounds, 0.6 if I want to be like specific, right? I bought a scale, stepped on the scale, 226. 9 months later, 226, bro.
It's a lot of weight.
It's a lot of fucking weight. And I recognized it, right? So that piece of me, that military piece of me hit me, right?
Yeah.
Dude, and I mean, it hit me like a brick, dude.
Yeah.
When I looked down and I saw that
It's
number
like you went
on
to
the scale.
semi-annual weigh-ins and realized you're overweight.
Dude. And I was like, I've become what I said I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I'm here now.
Yeah.
Got all the workout equipment, but I don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Got all of this and that, but I don't do anything.
Yeah.
Got the supplements and all that shit, but I'm just out here eating shit, looking
Yeah.
like trash. You know what I mean? And I started noticing it, right? Wearing my polos, looking down, and my belly's kind of sticking out. I'm like, oh no, that's not a good look, bro.
Yeah.
Or when I tuck my shirt in and it's starting, I'm like, ooh, no
Yeah.
sir, no sir. So that's where I really like that. I'm really gonna try to implement that into my regiment here. But yeah, man, I think we talked about this the other day. Physical discipline for your own body is also something very intense.
Huge, man.
Like you said too, when you were fresh in the Marine Corps, you were skinny, but you didn't have abs. You weren't physically fit.
No.
You know what I mean?
I could keep up.
Exactly, right? And that's I think I'm far past that. So what it is now I'm seeking that. I got to find that spark again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely faded, and I think that's maybe just a early stage of transitioning out from the military where I feel like too relaxed.
Yeah.
So I don't even know, man, but I'm trying not to. I want to keep my edge, but you can't be edgy out here. You know what I'm saying? People get tense.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So this is going to be a way deeper conversation.
Absolutely. No, I think this is a conversation I've been needing to have. You know what I mean? And definitely, dude.
I think a lot of people have to have this
absolutely, man. And I think this conversation, dude. Fitness is all. I mean, dude. I am 25. Am I 25? Yeah, I'm 25. Yeah, I'm 25. Fuck. Oh shit. How old am I? Who am I? No, so I'm 25, and I mean, dude, I'm overweight. Obviously, I'm getting back to shit. I'm not like disgusting. I'm not like
overweight in relativity.
Yes, yeah. I'm not like look at me. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm saying I can still rock some short shorts and the ass pop. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. What I'm saying is like, yeah, dude, just being in that position. I'm young too, but I also have like my knees are jacked. I got less cartilage in my spine than I started with, and all this other stuff. So, but if I'm being honest, man, if I'm being 100% real, the reason I truthfully believe that I've come to how I've gotten here is just I stopped caring. I left the discipline behind.
Mm-hmm.
All my I don't need that just went away.
Yeah.
And it started bleeding into, obviously it hit one area a little bit faster than the other.
Sure.
But like I said, this isn't me like fishing. I obviously know I'm in shape. You know what I mean? I know. Throw some weight around. What's up, dog?
Yeah. You're still very strong.
But what I'm saying is like, you know what I mean? But my personal military standard that I have ingrained into my brain to be fit.
Well, you have an idea in your head of what fit looks like.
My standard, yeah.
Yeah.
What my standard is so high, but I knowingly just said fuck it. You know what I mean? And there's really I had a lot of excuses. Oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt. I'm working so much. But if I'm being real, dude, I truthfully just stopped caring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's a big part of this too, right? Is
Go ahead. Go on. So before we get started, right? Before we let's preface this, right? You're a force fitness instructor in the military. You're certified in nutrition and fitness. You've trained hundreds of Marines in fitness, worked them out. So you are educated in fit. Let's make that clear.
Loosely.
Like,
but I won't say that I have a massive education in it. I do not. All I have is I have a basic education and trial and error.
Yes, correct. So that's all I wanted before we started. Before all the comments are like,
I don't have a kinesiology degree. I don't have a physiology degree.
But we know what we're talking about somewhat.
But I feel like I've done enough to this point where I have a decent set of results that I can disseminate that wouldn't be irresponsible to disseminate.
You see that shit? This is what I'm talking. This is the content we need on the show. Big words. All right, so go ahead. Yeah, go off, King.
So everything in your life is based off priorities.
Yes.
Okay. So the step one to this whole thing is find out what's a priority to you. If the priority is so for your example, if being a priority is 1, enjoying your time at work and being productive. 2 is being able to have energy when you come home or in the morning. And 3 is just not feeling sluggish, whatever the case may be. priority at some point for you, if you want to get back into being in quote unquote in shape, right, is find something that you enjoy doing first that involves a certain level of either cardio, strength and conditioning, or hypertrophy training.
Okay.
So if that means, and by the way, hypertrophy can come from, and by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, hypertrophy is essentially just breaking down muscle for the purpose of building it back up bigger.
Right.
That's very kind of watered down. So find a way to, one, get your body moving. So whether that's you like hiking, or whether you like biking or rowing or CrossFit or running, whatever the case may be, find that thing and allow yourself to be immersed in it. Love it. Some people like CrossFit because it's a community.
Yeah.
Because you get to go, you meet friends, you all go through the suck together in a workout, whatever the case may be. Some people like running. They'll join running clubs, or they'll go do half marathons or 5Ks or whatever, and they get a community. Community is a big part of that, because then when you're...
So it's definitely your environment and community.
Absolutely. Well, because people hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you show up to a CrossFit gym or to a running community 10, 15 times and you don't show up, people are going to be like, where's that guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you show back up, they're like, well, where were you?
Yeah, were you busy? And then they want to know, right?
And then you start getting grilled and you're like,
absolutely.
I've been slacking, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's huge.
Okay, big time.
So one of them is, again, find what you like to do. And that comes with trial and error too. Like, I don't love running. Like, I really don't. I genuinely, I hate it. But I really like circuit training. I really like circuit training because I like pushing my limits, which we can dive into a little bit. But I found if I wanted to get better at running, I just needed to involve like a mile before I'd go do my circuit training and call it a warm up.
Right.
I do a mile. And then eventually a mile was like, oh, I don't feel fully warmed up. I could do 2. Or I would do the circuit where if I had 5 stations on my circuit, one of them would be running. And so I slowly put things in there into what I already like that allowed me to do the things that I don't like until I got better at them. And then once I got better at them, I liked them a little bit more.
Right.
Like I used to freaking hate
nobody
running.
enjoys doing something they're not good at.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's huge.
But you have to first, before even that, you have to make the realization that this is going to be a journey. That's
absolutely.
the big, which is kind of where I'm at, right? I'm at my, like that to me is my base stone, right?
It's a journey.
Yeah.
But you need to have simple tasks.
Exactly. Simple tasks to take that first step up the stairs. Because that's where I'm at. I'm in that place where I'm like, okay, I made my realization. Yeah. I understand that this is going to take some time. This is going to suck. This is going to hurt. Now I got to take that first step, right? Yeah. So
honestly, it's all kind of. I hate putting things in a giant perspective because it freaks so many people out.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that 100 times.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
I've ran some ideas across you before, and you've been like, "Hey, man,
take a step back.
Yeah, take a step back and realize we're here, right here."
And it could be so simple, man. Like I swear, it could be so simple because everything, like you said, is a journey. But that doesn't mean that the first day has to suck. Mm-hmm. You can do things that are manageable, and then slowly over time get better. Like this is a marathon. Yeah. This is not a sprint. Like your life is a marathon. You got all this. Presumably all this time,
right? So which is that could be a completely other topic we don't have to go down, but that's another thing too, is that the aspect of time, the perspective of time. Now everyone's living so fast, everybody wants it now because you see it on your phone, you see it right there, other people are doing it, so you're like, I want that.
What's funny is they're living fast and also wasting time at the same time.
Absolutely, dude.
How often do we sit back and watch movies 2 hours a night or watch a TV show?
Well, dude, I'll tell you right now, I can 100% tell you, I've been fully capable of maintaining my fitness and other things, but I've just taken time out of my day to do nothing. You know what I mean? I've just wasted time.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
100%.
Especially if you're trying to take care of your mental and all that. All I mean by that is you've had a really busy day, you're stressed out, and you'd like your body to just kind of calm down a little bit.
Yeah, decompress. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's okay. I think what I found was I can do both of those things in my workouts. And that's not the case for everybody. But for me, I got so anxious and so worked up that I would go to the gym and go work out specifically to take my mind off the other stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's an escape. Yeah.
And by the way, some of that comes with sacrifice, right? Like if I want to get my workout in, but I also want time to decompress, then I'm going to have to sacrifice a little bit of sleep. And I'm not advocating for people to sacrifice sleep, but for me, if I get up at 6:30, it's okay for me to go to bed at like 11 or 10:30.
Yeah.
And that means that I could go to bed at 9 and kind of watch a movie or watch some TV for an hour and a half. And that's kind of my like,
but it's the end of the day. Right?
It is the end of the day.
It's the last task per se, right? It's the last task.
I think you have to mechanically, well, not mechanically. You have to change the way you view the day based off the person. So like some people love the grind.
Yeah.
Like everything's about the grind. Like
people love being in the trenches,
the
man.
grind is the shit.
That's what
like
it's about.
this
I mean,
is where
dude,
we're
I
at.
can tell you, we have a very trench mentality in my type of business.
Yeah.
Like when we're in those streets working, like
Yeah.
you know,
and it's infectious. But there's also some people that like the relaxed mentality. And to that, you have to kind of rescope what you're saying in a different way where like, hey, like you're going to have an easy day today, but let's, you know, we're going to do 20 minutes of this little exercise just to get your body moving for the day. And then life's good. You're not like, oh, we're going to hit it so fucking hard today and pound like that person's going to get kind of scared off. And by the way, also if you take hey, we're going to take a light, 20-minute workout session today to the guy that's like, I want to grind all the time. He's going to be like, this is like, I could go do more than this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is knowing you can do more.
You have to tailor it to the audience.
Yeah. So I really like the fact that you brought up community, man. And, to bring that in, I think that's one of the hardest things. And, I'd like to, from a perspective, right? So we are alike in a lot of senses, but we're also very different. You know what I mean? For me I definitely feel like, I feel like we're both homebodies, pretty introverted.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So speaking from my point of view, I guess, and for anybody else out there that's introverted, stepping up into a community like that can be pretty tough. You know what I mean? So individually, what's your thought process? I mean, giving up stuff, man, I'm kind of bumbling my words here because there's so much I want to ask.
Sure.
So being introverted, when you take time upon yourself, how is it going through your head when you're just like, I'm just going to be in this alone, because there's some people out there that might have to ride this journey by themselves. And there have been times I can personally say where it does feel like we're all by ourselves.
Sure.
So in that mentality, I mean, I want to know, have you ever been there and what, I guess, yeah.
A little bit. So, I mean, intermittently, I think I always actively tried to seek people out that had similar mindsets or similar goals. And they don't have to be the same person. They don't have to do things the same way, but just someone that you were willing to
interact with.
Yeah, that you could kind of bullshit about what you were doing.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't have to work out together, but you may show up to work and talk about what you did that day. 100%. And if you don't show up with anything, he's gonna be like, you know.
So it's human interaction.
I think it is.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of it.
At some point, you have to step out of that shell or
no
your cage,
question.
and you're doing just fine.
Absolutely, like because it's not at that point. It's not like you can be introverted and still be a part of a community,
right?
And like you can show up to a CrossFit workout and not have to do anything with anybody else, but just do the workout that's on the board. You see a bunch of other people working out. Nobody's really talking. The coaches are kind of hyping you up a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're just there to do the workout. And I keep bringing up CrossFit because they do this really well.
Yeah.
In bringing people back into the fold of like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. It's just an hour. And I think a big part of it is you're going to be your support system. For the guys that are alone, completely alone.
We're definitely speaking out to the crowd, but I'd also like to, I'm a big advocate for males' mental health. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's definitely guys out there right now who are probably riding solo right now. So, I mean, that mentality. I'm
going to tell you this, and I'm not going to say that this is pure fact, but this is just my viewpoint. I don't think you ever should be okay with being alone.
100%.
I think.
No, I agree. 100%. I agree.
You know what I mean?
That. No,
like,
yeah. Go on. I want to elaborate on that by all means.
I think you should always be trying to fill your circle with people with like mindsets.
100%.
So yes, it is possible to do things on your own, but even the best athletes in the world, even the best coaches in the world have somebody there helping them.
100%.
Period.
Yeah. I really like that you made that point that you should never be okay with just being alone. Coming from my standpoint, dude, there's definitely a time in my life where I was just okay with being in silence.
I'm the same
around
way,
nobody.
Yeah.
And I would be perfectly fine. But I did realize, at least now looking back, when I was in the scenario and in the situation, I was so oblivious to a lot of the things I was doing or what I was saying or anything, you know what I mean? Now looking back, it does take time to reflect, but now looking back, man, when I was all alone and how destructive I was to myself, my well-being, my emotions and stuff, you know, it definitely, I mean, and thinking about it now, you know, when I got my fiance, when we finally moved in, and she really pulled me out, human interaction
Sure.
is definitely a big thing. So,
You know what being alone is? The minimum standard.
yeah. Oof.
It's the minimum standard. You being alone and not actively seeking other people to help you get better is just meeting the minimum standard.
You're just existing.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get out, man. Dude.
Because we don't,
Yeah.
we're not all like Usain Bolt, Travis Pastrana, all these guys, they didn't just only do shit by themselves and that's how they got great. They started with a want to do something better, and then they found people that helped them get better. Period. Like every single person that I don't know one person that I can think of that did shit alone.
Right.
That got to where they were successfully.
Which is, yeah,
alone.
I think that's really interesting. I read an article, and this guy was just ranting. He's like, I'm so tired of hearing rappers say they came from the bottom with nobody. And he's like, you got to think about it. When I think this is also, you know, reflecting on myself right now, I can definitely say I've been a product of it, where I'll push away the people who are willing to help, you know what I mean? Because I want to be alone. But man, dude,
but it's not going to be the same guy. Like it may not be the same person the whole journey.
Absolutely.
And that's what people forget is you are going to meet other people and you are going to start talking to new people and stop talking to other people. Like at every duty station I was ever at, I had another person there that I wanted to train with because they were good at something that I wasn't.
Right.
And so every time I moved, it was like, hey, it was like, you're still my brother. It's great to like, I'm going to miss you, blah, blah, blah. But you move on and then you find somebody else. You go to classes, you go somewhere where you meet someone and you're like, oh, like that's someone that has something that I want. I want a piece of that. I want to train with you.
Absolutely.
Like every time, literally every duty station I've had someone like that. So when I was in 29, I had that person I was talking about. When I was in Japan, had the person I was talking about. When I went to San Diego the first time, I had a guy who was training for the SEALs while I was training to potentially go to, the other selection. When I went to Comm Squadron, I had another FFI with me and another one of my homeboys who's still out in San Diego who also wanted to go to the selection. He was awesome, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
All he wanted to do was do hard shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that, man.
It's about finding the like-minded, right?
Yeah. When I didn't want to sprint, he wanted to sprint.
But you have to, then we can, pulling all this back, it does come to setting that standard. What do you want? Like, where are you going to be? What's your standard going to be? What's your minimum? And like you said, being alone is just... It's the minimum standard.
1% better every day.
100%, man. I just really want to push this out, man. I mean, I'll be the first to admit now, I definitely talk about these things in therapy, and also out here, it's great to talk about. But man, you guys out there, if you're struggling with discipline, man, I think Jack here has made a lot of good points on basically just starting with a small task. So I want to put that into play, man. I also just had a few other things to run past you, I guess. When we kind of go into the support system, right, we dive into that. Now, there's going to be people that are going to try to knock the grind, right?
Absolutely.
We know that's a thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be people who exist in your life, who play a role in your life, whether it be minimal or, excess or a big role in your life.
Yeah.
But there are going to be people who are going to try to knock that grind. So I want to dip into your mentality on pushing away what I like to call as distractions, right? Because obviously, if someone's someone's preventing you from getting that bread, you're a distraction, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to you, right, when you get hit with a distraction, what keeps you on your straight and narrow?
I think the grind of making myself better. So when I kind of told myself when I started working out, I was going to get 1% better every day.
Yes.
And all that math adds up. You're 300, it's all a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
But you're 365% better than you were a year ago.
Absolutely.
If you work 1% every day. And by the way, that doesn't mean you have to work out every day, but you did something actively to make yourself better.
Yeah,
and
read
that could
a book,
be physically,
learn a language,
mentally, spiritually, whatever you want.
Do something.
100%. Now, with that comes, once you see the improvement over time, there's a confidence that comes with that.
Absolutely.
And there's also opportunity for ego to play a role. But also the beauty of that confidence and ego is the last thing you want is someone to screw it up, because you've been in a position where you didn't like who you were. And once you found something that you liked that made you better, the last thing you want is someone else coming in and screwing it up. And whether that's by downplaying what you're doing,
Absolutely.
talking shit, making distractions. For me, that was people that always wanted to go out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that for real.
Yep.
Because that took away from my training.
And then when they're like, you tell them you don't want to go out, and they just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. You know who the guys that didn't
Yep.
talk shit about going out? My guys that trained hard.
Exactly.
Because they got it. They understood.
Right.
Like, and there were still guys that trained hard and that went out, and they would be like, "Hey, you want to go drink tonight?" I'd be like, "Nah, I'm gonna get up tomorrow morning and go swim or whatever."
And
they're like,
so
"Cool."
it's not so discipline is more. You know, it involves other things such as sacrifice, right there.
100%. And I think what makes this easier is, again, going back to having the support system. Like, when you have a good support system, nobody talks shit when you want to go to bed early.
Absolutely.
Or when you want to get up early.
It goes back to surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
100%. Like, because everybody is different. Everybody in this world is different. And you may find out when you get older that you're not a part of these certain social circles or cliques, that you don't really fit into that vibe anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I don't hate the people that I used to party with. They're still great people. They just don't have the same goals that I do. And for me to reach my goals, I got to get with other people that fit my lifestyle. And that doesn't have to, for a lot of people, that sounds cocky, because what they hear is, oh, you don't fit my standard. You're not up to my standards. I don't want to be involved with you. That's not it at all. It's that you and I have different goals, and we can't hang out all the time and me still reach my goals. So for me, it's, and by the way, every now and then's fine. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to cut them off completely.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
I'm not going to go out drinking with you every weekend.
No, 100%.
I got shit to do.
Yeah, and I'll tell you from experiences like that. I mean, and this is definitely just due to my own, personal, whatever, I guess. I definitely had a point in my life where I was like, hot shit. At least I thought I was, right?
You were.
And
you 100% were.
Yeah, and it was still very easy though to drop that confidence when someone would say something crazy or something,
Yeah.
And it really knocked. There were a few things were said that really knocked me off my high horse, and in a way that it was so not in a way that I was being like cocky or anything, but somebody was just really hating. You know what I mean? And that really took me down a few notches. And trying to earn that back in yourself is, when you get knocked down a level mentally, you can't. How do you explain that to someone to build your confidence back up, right? Like, so I go through all these, I don't even know, these crazy emotional swings of just like, am I even like doing my job right? Am I a good person? Am I a good whatever?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I find difficulty in when I get knocked down and building myself back up. You know what I mean? And that's where that discipline has to come into play, right? And it falls back on that support system. So, damn, man, I feel so many things when talking about this right now. It's just so crazy. Definitely it's so normal,
So what plays into discipline more than anything is honesty. And
you're about to make me, the heart's in my stomach right now.
So
dude.
the honesty plays in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So
you got to be honest with yourself, man. I'm gonna be real. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want you you hit.
You're going exactly where I'm going.
You hit such a point. It's swallowing your fucking pride.
It's the hardest.
Looking yourself in the eyes and just
so
admitting
hard.
to yourself whatever is.
Yeah. So
the first step,
you're talking about how people say things about you. I was the same way. So I was a couple of years ago. I was in a different unit, and I was kind of turning into this. One of the stud NCOs that the leadership likes, right?
100%.
And it wasn't because I was sucking up to them all the time. It was just I was doing a lot of things for the command, and they liked it. Like I was running 2 workouts a day for all the Marines that were overweight. I was leading a whole platoon. And by the way, I wasn't.
You were doing what you were training Marines, man. You were.
I was doing what I thought was productive.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
But what I didn't realize was I had a group of Marines directly underneath me that was my main job. All the training Marines and stuff was kind of secondary, or it should have been secondary to what I was doing as a leader for my own shop.
Yeah.
And I very quickly fell into the trap of worrying about all the other stuff and not about my own guys as much as I should have. And there was a lot of internal drama that should have been taken care of, that I should have taken care of. And I didn't do a good job. And, you know, the confidence in me was like, oh, I'm doing everything I can. But I had to take a step back and seek guidance from other people and be like, is this right? Like, I think I'm right, but does that mean that I'm correct? Like, I think I know what I'm talking about, but does that mean that I'm actually right?
100%.
And that plays so much into every other facet of your life, especially on the fitness side of the house. Like, oh, I think I'm strong, but am I really strong?
Yeah.
Or I think I'm in shape, but like, am I really? Like, hey, I need someone to be honest with, like, could I be doing better? And the answer is always going to be, yeah,
absolutely.
100%. And as long as you get that through your head, that like, you can always be better, then shit gets easier.
100%.
Because then there's no pressure anymore. There's no top standard. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna get a little better.
Exactly, and it's being honest with yourself, and then even going back, it's that realization. And that, I mean, dude, I'll tell you right now, because I'm in the realization process right now, right? With so many things that have gone on in life, you know, I'm in that realization. I'm on flat ground, right? The stairs are right in front of me. And I'll tell you, man, from my own experience, being honest with yourself is fucking tough. You know what I mean? Especially when other people, you know, try to knock that too. Obviously, you shouldn't dive too deep into what other people say about you, because a lot of the time it's nonsense. For sure. But, you know, it's also good to reflect, you know, to really, if someone says some wild stuff about you, like, well, let me take a look. Yeah. Let me take a look let me reflect, you know, and also realizing, you know, just you can be better. There's things that can be different. It's tough, man. It is. But I'll tell anybody right now, it's the best thing to do. It takes the pressure off to just be like, okay, I'm not where I think I am, or finally being like, okay, this is me. Let's do something about it.
It takes the pressure off, because as soon as you're honest with yourself, you automatically know what you need to do.
Exactly. And then it becomes a struggle of, are you going to listen to yourself? Are you going to follow? Now that you've made the realization, are you going to follow through?
And then at that point, you just make simple tasks. That's all you do. Dude, that is literally literally all it takes.
I feel like I've had so many revelations in this short show, dude.
The problem is people, God, I heard Andy Stump talk about this the other day. And he was talking about buds.
Okay.
He was talking about how what people do a lot of times is the day is not that difficult. What makes the day difficult is when you look at the month of the year and you're overwhelmed with how much you need to do. So if you could you take a piece of sandpaper right now and scrape it across your knuckles? Yeah. Not a big deal, right?
Right.
Can you do it every day? Well, you know, like after a week, starts to get pretty red. Yeah. Like after 2 weeks, starts to get a little bloody. After 3 weeks, it might get infected. It's you're going to look at if I told you your knuckles are going to be bloody in 4 weeks, you're going to be like, well, I'm not doing this at all then. Why would I do this? Like, that's going to be difficult to have to deal with. Or if I just told you, like, well, all you have to do is just one swipe across the knuckles today, period. That little task. Yeah. Just one. Like, life gets a lot easier when you break things up into things that are manageable. Like, if I told you, like, hey, would it count for you to be 1% better if I just said we're going to go outside and we're going to do 50 push-ups? Would that count as 1% better?
Yeah, I could totally. I mean, 50 push-ups, yeah, 100%. That's 1% better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
easily.
Like,
and it sounds obtainable. It's setting not just simple tasks. Yeah, I get, yeah, for that. Obtainable too is another good one for that. Obtainable.
And once it gets easy to do 50 push-ups, then 1% better really is like 70 push-ups.
Exactly. Now take this for you guys, you know, who are also in fitness, or if you're not in fitness, maybe you're in business. Take that. Let's move it over to simple tasks, right?
Sure.
Okay. You're a businessman now, right? You're dealing with an account. You find the problem, right? Big problem. Everyone's tripping out. Okay. Simple task. Let's break it down. Yep. Let's open up the program. Yada, yada. I fix it. Yeah. All I got to do after I fix it is send the email. Hey, it's fixed. It's done. Yeah. All right. That's what I'm going to think of. I'm not going to think about how this program's down and it's affecting the rest of the work, and there are people out there who need us and they're not being able to take all that out, right? Take all that out, fix it, send the email. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And that right there, I feel like can open up a lot of doors for people. If I had that when I was even working, I did work in an office. I did work behind a computer. I was corporate, dude. And it was very high stress all the time because big money's on the line. And if a call's coming through and we're not picking up, that's an issue. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I definitely drained myself 100% because, I mean, you know how it is, man, the way they train you. What happens when you're late, right? Fucking Marines die. That's what happens when you're late, right?
It's always so high
and that
stress.
gets ingrained into your head. And people think it's ridiculous. People are like, dude, like, you're out of the military, chill out. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't relax.
It's
because
it's already here.
High stress. And now, not because, when you're in the suck, right, with your homies and your homie falls down, right? And he's got his pack on his rifle and he's like, my ankle. And you're like, oh, okay. First, I need a corpsman. Now, this is going to take out my front man, right? So now my front man's gone. So I got to get this guy over here to start running this stuff. We got to change the entire plan, and this is going to mess up other things that are, when we get to the objective, when we start doing all this, and then your brain's already fried, and the guy's still on the ground.
Yeah, and like the whole time
hasn't even got
you
there
haven't
yet.
even put the tourniquet on.
Yeah,
yet.
and and it's all in your head, running so fast, and you're like, well, I mean, I already saw the future, so it's over. You know what I mean?
In the meantime, if you would have just put a tourniquet on him, he probably would have been all right.
Probably would have been all right. Good to go. Hey, splint it.
We'll
get him
adjust.
in the truck. Yeah, we'll adjust. And that's, if I would have taken... So, I guess in that point, when they moved me over to this office, and shit's not going right, I'm like, well, there it is, right?
Yeah.
We screwed the pooch. Now there's going to be some old lady calling in for insurance on an icy road because she's sliding and she's not going to be able to get coverage, and then boom, roll over. Now we got to claim. It's stupid stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what we call anxiety, my friends. If you didn't know. Yeah. That's called general anxiety disorder. But
so I fell into that trap a lot too. So, we would have these in the job I'm at now. We would have these, Monday morning meetings where you talk about all the tasks that you have for the week. And my task list would be huge, dude. I mean, like like 20 or 30 tasks of things I need to get done. And it's like, dude, it's a mind fuck. Like you just look at it and you're like, oh my God, like what a busy week. And and I was drowning in it. Like for like a good few months, I was like, man, this is, I didn't realize how hard this was.
Yeah, that everything book literally was everything.
It literally took someone to come, and this is so basic, but holy shit, it worked. I had a senior enlisted Marine come down, and she came to me and she said, we're going to sit here and do this. Give me your task list for the week.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. She was like, list out all the due dates for all this stuff. And I was like, okay, got it. And she was like, here's all we're going to do. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He was like, put the tasks on there that need to first put the ones that have to get done on those days, and then fill in the blanks wherever you can. And then if you get done early on Monday or Tuesday, then you shift one of your Wednesday tasks to Tuesday,
right?
Or you shift one of your Tuesday tasks to Monday. And it turned into this, okay, every Monday I'm going to get all my taskers and I'm going to plot out exactly when I need to finish them. So now instead of looking at a week's task list, I'm looking at today.
Yeah.
And then even for that, I would say, okay, I'm going to get these two done in the morning and then these two done in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Or however many. And so then it became, I have 3 hours or 4 hours before I want to take my lunch or go work out. I have 4 hours to do these two tasks. And before I knew it, like these tasks would be done in an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, what am I freaking out about?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yep. No, dude, I know exactly what you mean, man. I've been in those scenarios, and that's what, dude, I know there's somebody probably listening to this, probably either gonna freak out later today or is already freaked out, maybe freaking out during the middle of this podcast, but like,
it's setting yourself up for success.
You gotta break it down, man. And, I mean, I work in an environment where everything's always moving, and I mean, I'll say I'm still a victim of overthinking and catastrophizing because I think too far into the future. For sure. But the thing is, I can't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just swinging for the fences 24/7. You know what I mean? But no, man, I really do enjoy that. I think this has been a really solid podcast, man.
Yeah.
I really think I pulled a few things from here that I definitely want to implement into my life. So, as I know I'm talking on a podcast, but talking to you directly, man, thank you for coming here. I know you're going to be hanging out with us for the next few days, and we're snowed in anyway. So we got a lot more cool things coming, man. Stay tuned. There's going to be some cool shows coming up. But yeah, man, one thing I always like to do before the end of the podcast is always shout out the suicide hotline for you guys out there. It's 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's 1-800-273-8255. You guys can call at any time. There's always going to be a representative over there to speak with you. If you call in and you press 1, that'll direct you straight to the Veterans Crisis Line. You guys definitely use this hotline if you're ever feeling down or you're ever feeling like you need someone to talk to. I highly recommend it. Most definitely. But also, before you reach for that phone, make sure you're looking to your left, right, you're up and down, north, south, east, and west for a friend out there. All right, there's always someone out there to talk to, whether it be a friend or a stranger. It's always good to just let things out. I mean, I don't even know. Start a podcast, talk to your friends. I mean, that's what I did. So, I mean, but trust me, if you guys ever, if you even feel like there's nobody out there to talk to, write me, talk to me, hit me up. I'll chat with you guys. I'm just super glad you guys are listening to the show. I'm really glad to be back. Jack, I'm glad you're here. And yeah, man, do you want to shout out your social medias?
Nah, but hey, listen, if there's only one thing I can leave this podcast with, it's if you want to get better at something, find an easy goal and go do it. Just do it one time and think back about how easy it was to do it that one time or how difficult it was to do it that time and adjust based off that. If it was difficult, then make it a smaller task. And the next day, do that task and find something that you enjoy doing that you can do routinely and just go for it.
Amen. Amen, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.